Three, two, one. Welcome back to my nightmare. You don't know that I do that. I'm sorry. Before every video, and I cut it out before you see it, but I do a 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to my nightmare. So anyway, today I am reading to you the stunning conclusion of Vane Attraction, which is the third book in the Quaint City series by Avery Morstan. That is me. And it's a really good conclusion. I like it. It's a little short. These chapters are a little short. Made especially so because I'm going to skip the steamy parts. I mean, they're not particularly steamy, but it's YouTube, so I don't want to get yelled at. So we're going to get through chapter 6 and 7, and then we're going to be done, and hopefully you enjoy it. So anyway, here's Vane Attraction by Avery Morstan. Here's Wonderwall. Sorry. I love that joke so much. I say it all the time. My friends hate it. Anyway. Chapter 6. I won't read the whole thing like that. I'm sorry. Hannah in the streetlights of Quaint City was one of the closest things Vane was ever going. Oh wait, hold on. I messed that up. That was my bad. Look, it has been a long day, okay? And it's New Year's, and I'm doing this for you. Hannah in the streetlights of Quaint City was the closest Vane was ever going to get to seeing an angel. With autumn creeping in, it was getting darker earlier, and the fairy lights that had been strung up in the trees that line Main Street as a way of preparing for Christmas. Oh. Quaint City was big on Christmas celebrations. Hannah's stark white curls shining in the shadowy light cast by the fairy lights was just a beacon that Vane didn't know she needed. Vane smiled at Hannah. "I'm not ready to go home yet. Are you?" Hannah's answering smile was as bright and warm as the fairy lights. "No, definitely not." "I know of a little place up the street," Vane said, sucking on her teeth just a little. She nodded in the direction of the bar that she was thinking of. "Want to go see if they're open?" Hannah hesitated. "I am supposed to do the opening shift tomorrow. I wouldn't want my boss to be upset with me." "I'll put in a good word for you," Vane said with a wink. With a wink that she hoped had half of Tate's charisma. She did feel a little smarmy saying that, but the look on Hannah's face made it worthwhile. Hannah had wanted to say yes, but Hannah wanted to make sure Vane was okay with it. And Vane was more than okay. She added, "We don't have to get completely blitzed or anything. I just want a drink and maybe some darts or pool or anything. I just want a drink. Or a little bit of conversation with someone I'm fond of." Vane shrugged. "Could be fun." "I'm fond of you too," Hannah said, and she reached out to take Vane's arm. She squeezed. "I'm out of practice. It's been a long time since I've gone to a bar with a friend." "Same, honestly," Vane told her. "You don't have to. I just thought it sounded kind of fun, and I really didn't want to go home." "I promise. I want to," Hannah assured her. They started to walk, arms brushing, along the streets of Quaint City. "You know, you've worked for me for a while. I don't think I know anything about you," Vane said. She swallowed hard. You know about how my grandma meant so much to me, how she raised me and all." "I don't know why," Hannah pointed out. "Why did she have custody of you?" "Of course, you don't have to say. That's probably a rude question." No, it's fine. "My parents kicked me out when they found out I was queer. Gran took me in, encouraged me." Vane huffed out a rather large breath and... hold on. Vane huffed out a heavy breath rather than start to cry, which she was so close to. "And then I abandoned her." "You didn't abandon her," Hannah said. "Everyone deals with grief differently." "I should have gone over more. I just couldn't stand to see her suffer like that," Vane said. She shrugged. "It was selfish." "I'm sure she knew that you loved her," Hannah said quietly. They were almost to the bar, and they didn't speak again until they entered and were ordering their drinks. Hannah twirled on the bar stool like a kid, sipping her hard cider. "My mother was fairly supportive, actually," Hannah said eventually. "My father seems uncomfortable, but it was never hard for me to be at home. They still tried. I feel incredibly lucky. But I also feel like maybe I should have suffered." No, Vane told her. "No one should have to suffer. I loved this girl once, and she had been in a similar situation to yours, and I just found it so hard to relate to her. It was a long time ago, and I was very young, but it didn't allow for some of the mental processing that comes with that sort of trauma. I was a dick. I feel pretty sick when I look back on how I treated her, Hannah admitted softly. She turned on the stool again, seemingly to distract herself. And then I got the job at Scott's salon, and he was really adamant about protecting his image from the start, so I just sort of went quietly back into the closet, wore dresses, kept my long hair. I felt miserable. I felt like I was hiding. It's nothing compared to what my ex went through, but I feel like I should have a better understanding of what happened to her now. I should apologize to her one of these days. Are you still in contact with her? Vane asked, feeling an alien surge of jealousy at the idea of some other woman, but trying to tamp it down as well. She knew that jealousy was normal. It was how you reacted to it that made you an asshole. Not really. Sometimes we send each other memes, but it was a long time ago, Hannah said. She took another sip of cider. We're different people than we used to be, and more's the better for us. Well, aren't we a barrel of fun? Vane said, trying to lighten the mood. She looked around. Okay, there's no darts, but they do have some ancient-ass skee-ball machines back there. Want to give it a go? That sounds fun, Hannah said, and she slipped off her stool. They wound their way through the crowded bar to the back corner where there were old arcade games, like pinball and skee-ball. Vane slid a few singles into the quarter machine, feeling a bit like she was doing laundry, and took out the coins. She handed some over to Hannah. You want to bet on anything? Vane asked. Hannah grinned. I bet. I can beat your score by 100. I used to be an excellent bowler, Hannah told her. God save Vane from soft little butches who talked like nursery school teachers, because damn, Hannah was cute. You got it, but I warn you, I sure play a mean skee-ball, Vane teased, singing the last part of the sentence. Hannah winked. I'm not worried, she said. So what are the stakes? I mean, if we're going to need to play for something, Vane said as Hannah was pushing dollar bills into a coin change machine. The quarters made a musical crashing as they dispensed. You've already cut my hair, Hannah said thoughtfully, so I'm not really sure what you have to offer me. I can make a pretty good omelet, Vane said with a shrug. Hannah's eyes were an array of emotions. There was something deep and hungry and bright and inquisitive at the same time. She tipped her cider to her lips, but just before taking a sip, her tongue darted out to dab suggestively at the corner of her mouth. Vane almost choked. Omelets are my favorite, Hannah said softly. What do I get if I win? Vane asked. Hannah put her drink down and inserted a quarter into the machine. The smooth wooden balls made a satisfying sound as they rolled into place. Hannah picked one up and shifted it from one hand to the other, and she angled her head confidently. You won't, she said. She turned and threw a ball. Vane watched Hannah's backside more than she did Hannah's actual throw. But when the ball sank into the 100-point hole, she had no doubt that Hannah was correct. Hannah looked over her shoulder and smirked. Your turn. Chapter 7. Vane was utterly creamed. Oh, and she lost. Hannah might have been an angel in the shop, but she was a demon when it came to skee-ball, and Vane loved every minute of it, especially when, after their final round, Hannah had pulled Vane in for a hug that went on long enough for them to get kicked out of the bar. And then there was a kiss in the alley, and another, and another. Each hazy, cider-coated memory led to a new discovery until Hannah's hands were smoothing down over Vane's tight jeans while Vane unlocked her apartment. Vane had always operated under the assumption that, while she was thin and what she had was tight for its age, she did not actually possess an ass. But there was a sweet little Hannah proving her wrong by cupping what was there very appreciatively. Vane smiled. Someone's excited, she teased as she opened the front door to her apartment. She led the way for Hannah, closing the door behind them. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to skip any of the spicy parts. And we're at the end. All right, so still skipping that. They cuddled for a while, blissed out, with sweat coating their bodies. Vane snickered. At least we're not guys. Nothing is unpleasantly sticky. True. Should probably still use the restroom, though, Hannah pointed out. But she started to snore softly where her head was cuddled up on Vane's shoulder. Vane was too boneless to move, and Hannah's weight was comforting against her. They'd work it out eventually, right? Vane tugged the comforter up over both of them, snuggled in, and fell fast asleep. Vane woke up in her apartment alone. For a second, she wondered if she dreamt it all, but the scent of Hannah, sex, and the pomade that Vane had worked through those soft curls the day before all lingered on Vane's bed sheets. All of it seemed too good to be happening to her. This didn't feel like one night standish. After all, she was Samantha, quote, every boyfriend I've ever had needed therapy, unquote, or, quote, every girlfriend I've ever had was just experimenting, unquote, Vane. This felt real, like a real girlfriend that Vane could really bring hot cocoa to when she went to the shop this morning. The second thought she had, after wondering if it had all been a dream, was that it was typical. Of course she woke up alone. She was someone that everyone always wanted to fuck, but no one wanted to make eggs with. Except that wasn't fair to Hannah. Hannah was unlike anyone Vane had ever met. Hannah was a golden thing, a blessing, a promise. She'd taken that non-binary child under her wing and protected them from their family for a few hours. She was the same Hannah who aired out the salon so Bex didn't fume her brains out doing a few crazy videos, or who swept up after Vane so no one tripped on slippery hair. She was a lot of things, and she certainly had flaws, but Hannah was not a shitty person. I have to open tomorrow, Hannah had said last night. A glance at the alarm clock on the stand, Vane was old, give her a break, said that it was 10 in the morning. Hannah was at work. Because if one thing could be said about Hannah, it was that she was responsible to a fault. Vane collapsed against her pillows with a stupid smile spreading over her face. She wriggled in the fabric, feeling it slide over her naked body. Hannah was at work. She'd be able to see her in just a few short hours. Or she could go see her now. She was the boss, after all. Vane leaned over to her nightstand to check her phone. She opened the message from Hannah first. You're sleeping like the dead, but I kissed your forehead before I left. See you at work. Such a proper little lady using correct grammar and punctuation and everything. Vane smiled so hard her cheeks ached. Then from Bex. Your girlfriend is whistling. You two finally shack up? She looks entirely too happy and won't say anything. Fucking hell. Bex probably had some kind of bet going or something as to when it was going to happen. Before Vane could even text back, she received another one from Bex that said, Tate won, fuck this. Vane snorted. Well, that's what Bex got for gambling. She put her phone down and closed her eyes. She was going to be sad for a long time. Her grandma was gone, and she'd never gotten the proper chance to say goodbye. That was something only time could heal. But there were things to look forward to. There were important things. They were things to hold on to. There was Hannah and all of the potential there. And there was the salon, which was doing well. There were hot ciders from Devil Stomping Grounds, and maybe she could con the team into going apple picking for publicity photos. But also because it seemed like a really cute thing to do with the beautiful people she worked with. Especially Hannah. Vane lay staring at her ceiling for a long time. She knew she had to get a move on if she wanted to treat Hannah to that coffee. She desperately needed a shower, and she wanted to look particularly sexy for her soft little butch. But there was something nagging at her. Don't start drama, she thought to herself. But then decided that she hadn't started the drama, but she could finish it. Her parents, and by proxy her aunt, had started all of the drama when they decided to let their religious beliefs overshadow their love for their child. They started all of this when Vane became more of a thing, more of a social status to them than an actual person with real feelings. She deserved her family's support, and, in the end, she'd only had Gran. She flicked open her phone, smiling at the idea that she could send Hannah a good morning gorgeous text. So she did. Then she opened the app that had started it all. Salon Friends and Family, she started. Because it was true. As much as people said you had to keep a distance between yourself and your clients, Bernadette and Tate were family. There were people who'd been coming to her for her entire career. They might not be blood, but they were her family. As you know, I was very close to my grandmother. She was with me from my very first pair of shears, and she was an integral part of starting my salon. Sadly, she passed away 2 weeks ago. My family announced it via this very site without calling me, which I'm sure shocks none of you. Vane Attraction will be business as usual, although I will be taking some time to grieve. I will contact you if there is a change in your appointment. For the meantime, please enjoy my favorite picture of Gran. I know she was very proud of me, and I'll love her forever. Vane added a photo of her and Gran from last Christmas. She'd been teaching her to use the filters, and they were both sporting little cartoon deer antlers. Gran looked super happy. She knew that Tammy, her aunt, would see the post and likely report back to her parents what she said, which meant neighbors and friends of the family who follow the shop would know what they did. Vane closed the app and threw the phone under her bed. On her bed. Enough of that. She had clients to reschedule and a new girlfriend to dress up for. Or a girl that she would very much like to be girlfriends with. Or something like that. Vane stood in line at Devil's waiting to get Hannah a hot cocoa before she went to work. Tate was at one of the high tops, grinning smugly. Oh, fuck, Keita said as she took Vane's order. Tate won. Yeah, but you got the bonus points, Tate said. Keita shrugged. Bonus points? Vane asked. Keita smiled. Tate bet it would take you 2 this long, but I bet you'd come in marked to high hell. Didn't you notice Hannah's a biter? Vane had not, in fact, noticed. She'd been in too much of a rush to get ready to see that Hannah, to get ready and see Hannah, that she hadn't even looked in the mirror. She didn't want to know what her hair looked like. She shrugged. Does it really surprise you that I might like it that way? Tate scowled. Ew. That's what you get for asking questions you don't want the answer to, kid, Vane said. She looked over at Keita. How are you doing? You seemed upset last night. Jesse and I talked for a bit, so I'm feeling better. I'm going to try and work on this purpose or passion or whatever thing Eve is pushing. The collective they are going to ask Eve about doing a play here, she said. She shrugged again. It will be what it will be. It will be perfectly fine, Vane promised her. She moved to the other end of the bar to wait for Frankie, the part-timer who filled in when they were short, to make the drinks. It was always a toss-up as to whether she was going to make what you ordered. Vane thanked her and left Tate and Keita to their bickering about where the stage should be in the coffee shop. She tried hard to look cool, sauntering into her shop while carrying 2 beverages. Shit, she should have brought Bex one to soothe her over the lost bet. Oh well. She'd buy them all lunch or something. She was just on the verge of spilling the coffees, trying to get the knob twisted, when the door opened from the other side, and Hannah smiled at her, although it was partially covered up by her mask. It was a genuine, sweet, happy to see you smile that made butterflies erupt in Vane's stomach. Vane grinned back. She held out the cocoa. Got you this? Hannah's eyes were bright and shining. Thank you, dearest. Thank you for reading Vane Attraction with me. I am sorry I started to tear up a little. I forgot when I wrote this. My grandma was still alive, and that is my favorite picture of the 2 of us. One year I was teaching her at Christmas how to use Snapchat filters, and because she didn't understand, she didn't use social media, and I have a picture that I had screenshot because you couldn't take in app pictures of Snapchat, so I had screenshot us with the filter on, and we have little cartoon deer antlers on. It's one of my favorite pictures. So anyway, it's New Year's Eve. I am going to, not when you're watching this, but when I'm recording it, I'm going to clean up my friend's house because I have to leave in the morning. And I'm going to maybe make some popcorn, do my nails, and probably watch Josie and the Pussycats because it's free this month on YouTube. Again, I'm recording this in December. It might not still be on YouTube when you see this. Anyway, if you like this video, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing it with a friend. And remember, go outside, take a walk, get a snack, take care of you. Did you drink your water? Did you take your meds? You're the only you I have. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next time. Bye.